Welcome back, you guys. This is your host, Andrea, with From Mrs. to Ms. I'm being joined today by somebody who's been a little MIA, let's say. She hasn't been around. I mean, she's been in my life, but not on camera with me. And she's
going to say, I've always been around. I just had a bitter attitude.
so we have positive Michelle with us here in the house today. She is back.
She was benched.
You were benched. You were going down a little bit of a dark path with the whole men thing, and rightfully so. We all go through these periods where we're just so turned off. It's just like right? But she's back. And she's back with a vengeance. And she's back.
And I'm in love.
And she's in love. You guys, she's in love. So this is such a treat today because Michelle's joining me and she has such a more positive outlook on life with men. And she's going to share that with us so that we can all hop on this positive train with her. Yay!
Well, I'll do my best.
Yeah, we'll take it. All right. So for those of you that don't know Michelle, she's just one of my besties. And we just like to get on here and chat. We chat all the time. We haven't chatted on camera and on recording in a long time, actually. So we were like, you know what, let's record it and just share some of the stuff that's been going on. Because I think that the people need to hear the positivity and that there's hope because you have found somebody amazing.
I have
a diamond in the rough. All right. So tell us what happened. And I don't know if you know this, but I told your little story about dropping trout in your kitchen.
Oh, well.
Oh, in one of the episodes.
You did?
I shared it. I didn't say like who it happened to or anything like that. I was just like, it was more of a like, oh my God, what would you do? And it was funny because I think I was going out on a couple of dates with a guy at the time who seemed to be very attached to my podcast. And he was like, I need to know what happened. Tell me, what was the outcome? Did she ever get with him? So you want to tell that story or just tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Beginning, because that story's a little abrasive.
It's very aggressive.
The bitter part of me. So first of all, I know we all struggle with online dating. And I go through these periods where I'll get, motivated to try it again. And then within a week, I'm off the site.
Yeah.
Even though I've spent maybe $60 because some of these sites are getting insane. And even for a month, it's like $100. I don't know why they're getting so expensive.
I don't know because nobody's buying them. So, that happens. They got to increase it.
It was really interesting. One night, I think we're all like this in bed, kind of sitting there alone, watching TV, hanging out with my dog, going, okay, got to try this again. So I went back on Bumble. And I'd only been on Bumble for a couple days and I was being very selective. And then I actually had to go on a small trip and I forgot that when you cross borders,
it crosses with you.
So all of a sudden I'm flooded with all these American men because I'm just outside of Seattle. And I'm actually connected with one. I thought he seemed lovely. We were going to try to meet when I was out there for 2 days. We didn't. We made plans. He would drive up to Canada because I'm in Vancouver now for the weekend. And it was so strange. The night before we had this amazing conversation. He seemed great. I woke up the next morning with this panic feeling in my gut. It was a strange feeling. It was like 6 a.m. too. And believe me, ladies, I'm not up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. And it told me to cancel him. And I actually messaged him and I thought, this is so strange, but I was following my gut. My gut said, this isn't your guy. This isn't your guy. And if you meet him, you're probably going to date him for a bit. And I messaged him saying, I'm so sorry. I have to cancel the date. I appreciate you wanting to make the effort to come up, but I just don't feel that this is going to lead anywhere. And he got very upset. And I was wondering why I had done this. And then that night, this guy popped up on my Bumble and I saw his photo and I just had this feeling. And it was so strange that my body said, this isn't your guy. Wait. So ladies, again, trust your instincts, trust your intuition. And I think time we second guess that intuition. Anyways, the next night I was chatting up with this guy that seemed super nice and we met within a day and now it's been 3 months of bliss.
Oh my God. It is so crazy to think about that because if you just look at that, it's like the butterfly effect, right? Where if this one thing hadn't happened, you wouldn't be where you are right now. So had you gone out on the date with that guy, you never would have been on Bumble that night. And the timing of that to line up,
Yeah.
kismet.
Yeah. You know, online dating, again, I think we have to be very careful what we put out there on our profiles.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women think they need to say that they're laid back and they're easygoing. None of
Mm,
us are easygoing ladies, and none of us
mm,
are laid back. I'm sorry.
mm-mm,
We are not
mm-mm.
built that way. So
Right.
don't say that. Can men think if you're easygoing and laid back, you're probably a casual person or
Yeah.
looking for something lighter?
Yeah.
I always say looking for love. Put it out there.
Mm,
One line, looking for love. Um,
mm.
anyways, yeah, so I ended up meeting this wonderful man, and it was strange. Of course, I didn't even put much care into what I looked like that first meet, because I don't know why. I just was long work day.
That's interesting.
I know, and that's very unlike me. And I
Yeah.
my toe, so I had to have like round shoes, flats, like definitely not the typical me. And as soon as he stood up and I looked into his eyes, I was like, uh-oh, uh-oh.
You just knew.
I just had this feeling. So
Yes.
yeah, it's been really interesting to go from a place where I've seen a lot of disappointment and a lot of men not rising to the occasion. And
Yeah.
I know this is a bit woo-woo, but I was manifesting a feeling. For about
Mm.
3 or 4 months, I just kept holding on to this feeling I wanted to feel around someone. And it
Yeah.
was that calmness, passion, laughter. And I would walk around the house pretending that feeling was next to me, or that
Yeah.
person vibing that vibe was next to me. And it was really strange. Within a few dates, I already knew within a date, or I knew by the second date.
Yeah. I had never seen you like this, right? So I had never. So just for y'all to know, okay, we're like new besties. We've been like friends for, I don't know, a year and a half now, 2 years.
Oh, girl, 2 years.
2 years. We had an
Yep.
anniversary. But yeah, so we're kind of like still newer friends, but like we talk all the time and we just catch up and as if we're here together all the time. So when I have known you and who you've dated, it's always been like blah, and you have always been really hard on me to take things slow. Don't
Yeah.
get too excited up front. Like let things just simmer.
I definitely got excited very quick on this one.
Very quickly. I think you called me after, it was very early on. First, it might have been after the first date and you were like, oh yeah. Oh, it was because then you were going out on Sunday to go shopping with him or something. Yes. See, so we talked right after the first date and you were like, yep.
But this is what I want to dial back. Right away, he presented everything I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like right away, he offered to come pick me up before the date. Now, listen, I'm always a bit nervous about someone picking you up at your home on a first date, especially if you don't think you're going to like him. I always say, don't let them meet you at your address till you have a better feeling of who they are. You want that distance, that privacy. But just the fact that he offered to pick me up, he offered to walk me home that night. He held my hand. We talked about family. We talked about just life, but it was really organic. It wasn't like we had a list of questions. Again, ladies, put your questions away. You have to let things just unfold. But I think it's just more his integrity. I don't think I've met a man with that kind of integrity or that kind of just masculinity, but kindness all wound together. Does that make sense? Like sometimes the masculine can come across as egotistical and macho. He was masculine, but confident in such a comforting way instead of this big ego. Does that make sense? So I think the problem is we all know this, that men are very much floundering right now. They don't know what to do because we used to be these softer, more feminine women, and now we're having to rise and be very strong and independent. So they don't know how to talk to us or treat us. And we have to educate them of what we're wanting. And that's why I'm always telling you, Andrea, demand more. Ask for more. Don't give away your body. Don't, drive an hour and a half for a first date. Like if they're a distance, get them to drive to you. I'm sorry, we're women. We shouldn't be driving late at night, far away. Definitely not on a first date. Like dial it back, guys. Like this is, and I mean guys being women, dial it back to what tradition used to show us is we're supposed to be the gentler, the feminine. They're supposed to come to us. We're not supposed to work hard. They're supposed to work hard.
And I am really coming into this mindset lately, especially just, online, everyone's become just so lazy, especially on the specific sites, even Facebook dating, where they can easily make the first move. Like Bumble, not so much because the women are supposed to make the first move. But
Yeah.
every other site, come on, guys, where are you? Like, and I always kind of jump into my masculine energy and I start messaging them like, hey, and then I have to stop myself and go, no, if I want them to treat me like a woman in a feminine energy, I need to sit back and wait and know I'm the prize here. Come on. Like,
Absolutely.
you
You're
want to
right.
date me? Yeah, make some effort.
Yeah. So of
Yeah.
course, throughout the first week and a half, I was very clear that I wanted to take things slow on the intimate level. Like we had held hands, we had kissed, we'd even made out, a little hotter made out. I'm like, oh, we gotta dial it back, dial it back. And then I wanted to see what it was like to introduce him to someone. So I trusted my little sister and her husband, little being 38. I'm just a
Okay.
lot older than that.
Yeah. Love it.
Oh, not little, like 6 years old.
Yeah.
Anyways, we had this really nice night, family night. They left. All of a sudden, we're pouring drinks, and here, drum roll, bum, 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 bum. Nothing's happened. We haven't kissed, nothing. All of a sudden, I'm pouring myself a drink. I look over, and he's just butt naked in the kitchen, just head to toe, not a stitch of clothing. And I'm like, what the?
Oh, fuck. Yes.
So I'm sure everyone listening is going, oh my God, oh my God. Because you got to understand this man has been so chivalrous,
Yes.
so gentle, so accommodating, so just kind and gentle. That's the best
Yeah.
way to say it. And then all of a sudden I have this naked man in my kitchen looking at
Yes.
me. And it's one thing if we'd been making out or I had given an indication of we're moving forward here. And the weird part is I actually had a feeling that day is that I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
We're just about to hit 2 weeks together, and I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
We had spent like 3 or 4 days. He wanted to see me a lot. I had to dial that back a bit, but
Yeah.
we'd spent some time together. It didn't matter to me. For some reason, my body just went, no, I have been physically assaulted in the past, and I need to feel very safe before I
Mm-hmm.
get intimate because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
passionate person. And if I don't feel safe, I'm not going to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, if you ever have those feelings, don't let yourself push forward. I almost did that night.
Yeah.
I should just throw caution to the wind. I really like this guy. And then when he did that,
Mm-hmm.
it just put me in my masculine. I just said, I don't know what's going on, but you're
Yeah.
going to get dressed. And he goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I just did that. I got hot. I was going to take my shirt off. And then everything was off.
And the pants just fell.
Yeah, everything on the floor. There's just a puddle of clothing on the floor. And I think he drank more than I thought because he was
Mm-hmm.
nervous about meeting family. And then I think it hit him after they left, but I didn't clock that. But what was interesting is that we sat on the couch. He was in his underwear. He managed to put his underwear back on. And I was trying to get myself comfortable again, and I just decided I couldn't. So I said,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to go. And honestly, he left that night, and I thought, I don't know if I ever need to see him again.
Yeah. I
I
remember
couldn't
that.
believe I went from this excitement to just completely crushed.
Yeah.
And, he was a little on the, I would say, he was trying to be light, but he was a bit defensive about it. He's like, well, I like to be naked and this is normal
Mm.
for me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. You said you wanted me to be comfortable. Time to leave. Get out of my.
Yeah.
And I did have to get a little abrupt, which is strange.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going to happen. And the next day, he called me first thing in the morning, like
Yeah.
8:30 in the morning. And he just said, all I have to say is I'm so sorry. And I don't know why this happened. And please see me today. I need to see you. I need to see you face to face and talk this out.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was just, I don't have the time for it. I don't know if I want it. Cause I'm sure like you ladies, we've been disappointed so many times.
Yep.
I don't know how much bandwidth we have for that excuse. Like
Yes.
go from, hey, I'm going to make sure you feel comfortable before we push the intimacy level to I'm naked in your kitchen holding
Let's go.
yeah. And I was sober because my sister's pregnant. So I didn't want to drink much. When I say sober, I'd had like a glass of wine. He had,
Yes.
like 9 beer or 8
Oh my
beer.
gosh.
We're not on the same
No.
spot.
No.
Not on the same level. So what I have to say is that he came over that day, and I have to say I was so proud of how he talked to me.
Hmm.
He wasn't defensive. He
Okay.
just said, I made a mistake. I didn't sleep. I don't know what happened. But in a weird way, after talking it out for about half an hour, because believe me, no guy likes to beat a dead horse. So don't
Yeah.
go in circles. Just be very clear of how you felt, very clear of if you want to move forward or if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, if we're going to try this again, we got to go back to the very beginning. like
Mm.
holding my hand, not even making.
Mm.
He registered it. He clocked it. He goes, okay,
Mm.
absolutely. So
It's
instead,
huge.
a couple more dates after that, and we would sit on the couch and watch goofy movies and giggle and eat junk food. And then as soon as I felt that I had that trust back, of course, I invited him to the bedroom.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
chose to say, hey, go get in my bed. Let's go.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me like, what? But it's
Do you
interesting.
say it like that? Go get in
Yeah,
my
I said,
bed and get
go get in
naked.
my bed. And he was like, what? So, but again, I think a lot of us know that when we feel safe, we turn into that feminine fun, playfulness. When we
Yeah.
don't, we get guarded.
Yeah.
We get resentful. So I think, look, looking for a man right now, it is about timing. It is about loving yourself.
Mhm.
I really had to put more love into me
Mhm.
before I felt someone else could love me the way I deserve to be loved.
Mm. Yeah.
So I've done
Yeah.
a lot of
You've done a
growth
lot of work.
this year.
Yes, you
Just
have.
I met some cute guy on Bumble. It was
Yes.
what I was manifesting, how I was feeling about myself, what I wanted, how I wouldn't stray from what I wanted.
Yes. And
So,
that's so key. And I want to touch base on a couple of things in what you just in your story there. Because a few things that stood out to me is one, when he I think when we were talking about it, you were like, I was making a cocktail and I turn around and I see a tail.
making myself a tequila cocktail, and I turn around, I'm like, there's just a cock there. Like, where did it come from? Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. But I love because I remember you said you were very assertive. You were like, hey, get your stuff, get out of here, and he was like, but I've had too much to drink. I can't drive. And you're like, grab an Uber, buddy.
Yep.
And I love that you stuck to that because there's so many, including myself, that would just kind of let it pass by. I'm big on, a lot of things don't really bother me. They just kind of I brush off my shoulder, whatever. But I feel like I probably would have been like, yeah, okay. Like I'm being overreactive or something. And I love that you did it and you really stuck to that. And that had to do a lot with what you said about growth and really knowing what you want in somebody. And we want to train them how we want to be treated. So if you're saying, okay, right now, yeah, that's okay. Okay, I get it. You like to be naked. Ha ha ha. Let's laugh it off. That is saying that's okay. What you did is okay. And you were very specific about needing to feel comfortable and safe. And he was not honoring that. And so the fact that you turned around and were like, nope, get your stuff and leave. And you make him come back with his tail between his legs and have to apologize and sit and almost be, I'm sure he was very embarrassed
Yeah.
about the situation. And then to be almost put on probation.
Absolutely.
Only my girl Michelle could pull this off.
And of course, I have a girlfriend right now who's going through a horrible divorce and she's having a lot of casual relationships. So I
Yeah.
tried to picture what she would do in this environment. I know
Yeah.
what she would have done. She would have laughed her ass off, shot a tequila shot, and stripped down herself and
Yep.
probably would have gone to bed with him.
That's what I'm saying.
Interesting is that I did try to play out later what maybe you would have done, what maybe two other girlfriends would have done. And I said, I think we all would have handled it slightly different. But
Mhm.
I just know that my body shut down. When that
Yeah.
happened, I felt all the armor go up, bum, 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 bum. And I just said,
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Why did you romance me so much? And then I get this.
Yeah.
But then what's really cool is now that we've been together for months and we've evolved and things have gotten so great and the
Mhm.
love is there, and is he said in a weird way, something told him to do it. And in a weird
Mm.
way, I almost forced myself to be with him that night intimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So isn't it interesting that I was trying to convince myself to get naked with him that night?
Yes.
So it's almost like someone went, you're going to sabotage it
Yep.
to the guy. I'm not going to say his name.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
just call him
Bob.
Nudie. I don't know.
Okay.
Bob. No, not Bob. Nudie Pants.
Nudie pants.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nudie Bum. Yeah, no, the fact that he
Drop
said
trow. We'll
he'd
call
done
him
that
trow.
in his life, and something just told him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But something also told me to tell him to go. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it really comes down to instincts. So we kind of laugh it off now and we call it the Murray moment because that's his middle name. And that's such a horrible name. And he's so handsome and he doesn't like the name Murray. So when he's either cheap or he does something goofy, I'm like, oh, you're having a Murray moment.
Uh-huh.
But it's become a joke. But I think in a weird way, I'm so grateful that it happened because
Yeah.
even though it was ridiculous and I thought, oh my God, this is going to break us, it actually it showed us how we handled a problem. It showed us how
Mhm.
if we'd rise or fall. And then now it's just an ongoing joke. So all my
Yeah.
friends know it happened. He knows they know. So
Now everybody knows. But it also showed what you were willing to accept and what you're not. And
yeah,
that was very important to make that clear in the beginning.
yeah.
So there was no question from him. He knows, okay, she's serious here,
But
you know?
he tells me that if I hadn't made him wait, he doesn't think that we
He
would
would.
have lasted this long.
Oh,
Yeah, he says
interesting.
there's too many women out there that are
Yep.
willing to just serve it up on the
Yep.
first date. And all guys do is what he told me is all his friends say, if you serve it up on the first date or really quickly,
Yeah.
they treat you as that's that type of girl.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
a take home to mom girl.
Yes.
It's interesting because he was married for 21 years. He's only been single for a year. He has
Yeah.
hit the ground running. He has dated a bunch of women. And he did tell me that most don't love themselves. Most do give up their bodies way too early. And
Mm-hmm.
he just thought, forget it. Like he's a
Yeah.
successful guy. He wants someone who challenges him. He wants someone, and not challenge in an aggressive way, just
Yeah.
someone who's not a pushover, someone
Yeah.
who's totally submissive.
Yeah.
So just
I love
know that
that.
you can get what you want,
Yeah.
and they can be very handsome too.
They can be very handsome.
He is
I know.
I am loving.
Oh, I love that. I love seeing you in this element, and it's been such a treat for me, obviously, because I haven't
Yeah.
known you when you've been kind of in this. You were dating, but not like you weren't in love. So that's really really exciting.
When
And
I
I
was seeing someone that I did know for a decade, and we were
yes,
together for actually a year, but the problem was we were having issues, and I was planning on moving back to Canada. I
yes,
think that's why. It was a big
yeah. And then you tried to make it work long distance, and it
yeah,
just
which
wasn't.
we all know long distance is nearly impossible unless you really plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I think that a lot of controversial question that always comes up. You and I always talk about this. When is too soon to have sex? Because you're always telling me, Andrea, don't
I always
have
say
a fun time, but don't.
I always say a month.
Yeah.
No matter how much you see them. 3 weeks if you're seeing them a lot, like I'm talking
Yeah.
about like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
For us, he wanted us to spend weekends together pretty quick right off the bat. And I wouldn't spend weekends away with him until we had been together and I
Yeah.
knew what the intimacy was like. Plus, you also want to know how you feel after the intimacy. Do you
Mm-hmm.
feel supported? Do you feel safe? Do you feel cared for?
Mm-hmm.
Does he kind of just get up out of bed and ask you to
Mm-hmm.
go home? I want it
You
like
were feeling good about it after.
well, I had manifested something that I didn't think existed. And so
Yeah.
as days have gone on, I'm like, wow, he really does check those boxes, which I know is a
Mm.
horrible thing to say. We shouldn't have a
A
checklist.
checklist.
But there were some really important things. And he's a dad and he's got 2 teens. It's not that he's just free and clear. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
real relationship where we spend a lot of time cooking and taking care of kids. And it's not just all love bubble stuff. A lot
Yeah.
of it is love bubble. But
But it should be right now. So
yeah,
that's really good.
yeah.
It's funny because when we talk about the intimacy stuff, I've found myself now when I go out on dates, my girlfriend said to me when I had a date not too long ago, she goes, okay, I'm just going to say this and don't take it the wrong way. She goes, just don't fuck it up. And I go, what does that mean? And she goes, well, I think because you're trying so hard not to get yourself in that situation. She's like, you are saying it and putting it out there. And I found I was doing that. I would kind of go, yeah, in a conversation, I'd just be like, well, yeah, I'm a real slow burn. So I just like to have things, go slow and gain connection and stuff like that. And I would say it multiple times throughout the date because I'm trying to hit it home and make sure that they understand that. And that's where she was like, I think you're almost overdoing it and you're putting yourself in this weird spot where they're like, okay, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
and it seems, yeah. And so I'm trying to find that really in between spot where I'm like comfortable and maybe it's just like, oh, I just mention it one time, like in a joke or something, the way you can kind of brush it off and be like, yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon or something like that, just to give them the key without overdoing it.
But again, I think it's the place we're in. How are you emotionally right now? How is your heart feeling? Are you still processing some of your old heartbreaks? Are you still learning and growing? I mean, we're always learning and growing, but I really had to sit with what broke me before. What did we do or I let that emotion hit me? Because again, we're responsible for how we feel. They can't make us feel a certain way. All they can do is influence, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that a lot of us go on dates to fill a void. A lot of us go on dates because we want to feel good about ourselves, or we want
Yep.
to feel pretty that night, or we want to go for a nice dinner, or we want to have compliments. You can't attach anything to these dates. You have to go in with
Mhm.
no expectations. You have to go in as you, and hopefully as vulnerable as possible.
Yeah.
Because if you come
Yeah.
in guns blazing, you sent me that clip the other day, that woman that's like, oh, I went on a date and I told this guy that I want something serious, but then I slept with him, but I told him it was only
Yes.
10.
Yes.
And, now I want to know if he wants a relationship. I'm like, girl, one, you're coming in so hot. Two, you already slept with him, which all men, as soon as you do that,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but they like the hunt. So if
Mhm.
you've already given them the kill on the first date,
Yeah. What do
most
they have to hunt for?
if you're a successful guy, they don't want to continue hunting you. There's nothing to hunt. They know what's there.
Right.
So
Right.
I think there's so many factors that when
Mhm.
online dating, it's not about multi-dating as much as you can and going on 100 dates and hopefully finding someone great. It's
Mhm.
only dating when you feel good and going out with men that have shown you that they seem like they're a good person. Because
Yeah.
again, read the way they talk to you on the apps, read the
Yeah.
text, how they talk to you, listen to how they speak to you. Men do share who they are. Most
Mhm.
of us keep
We choose to
fantasizing
ignore it.
and thinking, "Oh, but that's just text. Oh, they're probably
Mhm.
a person." No, they've just shared with you who they are. So if they're asking you what you're wearing and sending you dick pics away, you know what they're looking for. Don't go think they're Prince Charming.
Oh, yeah. I can't even. I just totally gloss over it if they say anything, and I just keep having a normal conversation and see if they continue on with it. And you can start to tell because the conversation starts to taper off pretty quick when it's not going in the direction that they want it to go in,
Nope.
which is super frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I'm really going through this space right now where I'm not dating very much. Not like I used to. I used to date perpetually, and we know this. I've told many stories about this. But I'm kind of just going through where if it doesn't make sense to me and it's just not feeling right, and I'm like cutting it. And I love that. I love that because I just did this the other night. I was out with this guy and I was like, I don't know, just something felt a little off. Very attractive man, nice and tall. Like I like him, not as tall as I think he said, because I think he lied a little bit on that one. But I started to go, as I was asking questions, we were just so off. He's really big into working out. He says he gets up at 4 a.m. I am in mid REM at 4 a.m. I don't know who's getting up at 4 a.m. But that also then tells me, okay, oh, if you're getting up at 4 a.m., what time are you going to bed? He's
Yeah.
going to bed at
7,
8:30.
7:30. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just finishing dinner.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl, and then they kind of do the whole, well, you can come in and we can have some little fun and go back out. And that's such a oogie line to me. Like, oh yeah, let me come in and service you and you can go to sleep all nice and neat. And then I can go sit back on the couch by myself. Why wouldn't I just be by myself? So it was like all of these things that we were talking about. And I'm like, oh, okay, are you, he mentioned church. And I said, oh, you're a Christian? Yes. Are you religious? No, I'm more spiritual. Okay, that totally doesn't align with me. And then he started talking a little bit of politics that we didn't align on. And then it was, it's just one thing after the other.
Andrea,
Huh?
was
Is it
that
what? Yeah, this is all in person.
this is what I was going to dial back.
Yeah.
Don't meet in person. Do a FaceTime or a Zoom or and give yourself another name on the Zoom or the FaceTime or whatever you have access
Yeah.
to. Obviously, FaceTime is tough because it's your cell number. But I always say that unless you get a really good vibe from someone on a first phone call,
Hmm.
have a FaceTime with them or like I said,
Hmm.
Zoom and use a corporate account or something that doesn't have your personal details.
Yeah.
Because that stuff should have come up before your first date about
Yeah.
I get up really early and I'm a trainer or whatever. Because to me, I had a relationship with a guy that would stay up really late. Like he wouldn't go to bed
Hmm.
till 2 a.m., but he wouldn't wake up
Mm.
till 11 a.m. But I have to go to bed by about 10:30 to get up for
Yeah.
about 7:30 to do my job. So
Yes.
right away we were
You're
not.
not a match.
So I think a lot of women think it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Actually, going to bed and waking up, even if you're not even sharing a bedroom, because I know that's the new trend, which I actually
Hmm.
love, is that
And I
women
want to talk about that. Yes.
think that's amazing because men mostly snore and they flip around like fish. And I'm like silent and I barely move because I'm a mom. So that
Yeah.
started early. But I think these things are important. And why, like, if you go all this way to a date, you dress up, you spend all this
Yeah.
time, you go there and you're like, ugh.
Well, in this one,
to spend that time.
yes. And in this case, we did meet for just a little coffee date first because I was on my way somewhere that was going past where he lived. So we just decided to do a little coffee date. And we touched on a little of the things, but it wasn't until we decided to meet again. And then, like I said, the questions, I was asking, do you see yourself getting married? Because he'd never been married. Do you see yourself getting married? I'm like 50. I'm 56 years old. What am I going to get married for?
Andrea,
and I'm like, I know. And I knew it.
Monogamous. Yes, you will. Oh my God.
Yes, you will. And so I was just like, all right. But, it's just been a bit of a struggle before that because we were talking a little bit about distance. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this because I told you a little bit about this guy that I did go on a few dates with. And I was very interested in him. I loved a lot of things. He's a really good man. We didn't even kiss. We didn't even kiss for the first 2 dates because he was very clear about, I'm dating intentionally and I don't want to cloud my feelings, my judgments, or my thoughts because I'm very attracted to you. And I know that will lead down a different path. And I respected that. I loved that. I was like, I would have taken a kiss, but I was like, it gave me that anticipation and And so we met a couple times. And the second time, we had a great dinner the first time, 2-hour dinner, whatever, great conversation. Everything was good. We texted throughout the week and stuff. We went on a second date. And we met and we just talked and it was so great. We were like, oh my God, the time has passed, and we talked about really good in-depth stuff. The conversation flowed. And again, we were holding hands. So there was definitely chemistry. The chemistry was there, the compatibility. And then we scheduled a third date and then he ended up canceling and said he just felt he was worried about the distance between us. Now, for me, I was like, compatibility, chemistry, connection far outweighs distance. And I'm not talking we're in different states. There's no flight, boat, train we're needing to take. We were a little bit less than an hour distance. You're meeting halfway. Maybe you do this for 6 months to a year, and then you decide you're going to live together. I don't know. I just have different values in that. And he was just said he wants somebody down the street.
And that's men though.
But to me, to keep telling me you're dating intentionally, that was his big thing. I'm dating intentionally.
Right.
You're dating conveniently is what you're dating.
You also have to bring up the fact that he brought up he has a new puppy.
And he has a new puppy
for 4 hours. And so this guy was clocking that the hour each way is 2 hours. He hasn't even spent any time with you.
Yes. So but our third date, I was going to he wanted me to just come to his house, not to be at the house, to just go in the area so we could increase the time of hanging out together.
We get that. But what I'm saying is that he had restrictions. It's like when a person, young child, they can't spend that time. So he is definitely limiting who he will meet, but men do that.
And it's just disappointing.
Men, it's funny. I truly believe, I can't remember if it was off like Sex and the City or Friends, but someone made this joke about how men will be single, and all of a sudden they'll just decide they're ready to be committed again.
Yeah.
And someone said it was something like men are like cabs. They'll be driving around with their light off, and all of a sudden their light will go on.
Yeah.
First stick that gets in, sure, you work. Do you fit in the criteria? Do you live nearby? Are you cute? Does your mom still look good at her age? Whatever their weird quirks are. But men are very different. They're not like us. We put so much more effort than most men. So I understand that didn't work out for you, but at the same time, you have to take it as a blessing.
I do.
Direction. He's not your guy.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think that's where it just gets a little deflating when you feel like that's the first time I had actually felt excited in a long time. So I think when you start thinking that, I tried to do everything. I wore a different first date outfit. I tried changing it up. I immediately just shut off my apps and I didn't tell him. It wasn't like me going, oh yeah, I'm going to get off and freak you out that I think we're serious. I did it for me because I wanted to sit there on a conversation with him for 2 hours and not worry about my phone, going off that I have a Bumble thing or a Hinge or whatever it might be. And I wanted to just feel I am making space for this person in my life. So I was really trying things different. So it didn't work, but I'm not discouraged.
It reminded you of the feeling that you want to feel.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. That's all it is. Like when I met
Yeah.
this particular person, Nudie Bum.
Nudie boy. Nudie bum.
He's a great bum, by the way. Great ass.
Bum.
Anyways,
Bum.
fit.
That's so British.
Well,
Your British came
I'm
through.
sorry, I am British.
Bum.
That's why
Bum.
bum. Um, now I've lost my train of thought. I'm only
Sorry.
thinking of his ass now.
I know.
I had to keep reminding myself of like, don't get ahead of yourself. This is the
Yeah.
beginning. Like things can happen, And at the same time, I just decided to enjoy the feeling. And I
Yeah.
thought, if this feeling only lasts 2-3 weeks, at least it reminded me that that's out there. So I
Yes.
didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I wasn't seeing anyone else, of course, but
Mhm.
I at least let my mind know that it was okay to let it go and have fun. But
Mhm.
also, of course, the reality or my brain was still clocking this like, be realistic, like this could blow up in your face very
Yeah.
quickly. But I'm glad that that voice didn't overpower my instincts just to let it go. And,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's a good point because I wonder how long that you keep doing that until you just have to go tell yourself, just stop, just let it be. Just let it be. Very hard to do. To
yeah.
not let, especially in this day and age and what we've gone through with men in the past, it's hard not to be waiting for that shoe to drop,
Yeah.
you know?
Especially when his ex decided to message over 100 times asking for him back. And I was like, oh,
I know.
text message, emails, and phone calls. I'm like, oh, this could be interesting.
I know. But I love that you're in this place now where you're just enjoying it. You guys are having fun and I love it. And you're in bliss. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. So another thing I want to talk about, you mentioned about the separate bedrooms and what that's like. That is kind of becoming a craze these days with women. There's a lot of women that I feel like I saw something. I don't know if it was that relationship coach Logan Ori that said she lives in a kind of a compound with other women, and that seems to be the thing. And women who are okay with just being in separate bedrooms, or they're okay with just kind of seeing their man a couple times a week, not actually getting married or anything like that. What do you think about that?
Well, that was my goal, was to create a compound with me and 4 of my favorite people, like my
Yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
their pets. If they had children, they were invited. I was looking at property. We were all talking about, do we get manufactured homes? Do we build? Like,
Yeah.
that was my trajectory, was
Yeah.
I had given up that there was going to be someone that made sense in my life. And it's really strange because maybe it is because I really just gave up. I'm like, whatever, this
Yeah.
is
When
over.
somebody shows up.
No. I really do believe it has to do with timing. I really do. I think because we talked about it, like his timing last year was a mess. Mine was a mess. If it was earlier this year, it was a mess. So I do
Just
feel
aligned.
like if there is someone that really does match up with you, I'm not talking about, there's so many guys you can date. Like that
Mhm.
guy from Bellevue. I mean, he seemed wonderful.
Yeah.
Not as wonderful as Nudie Bum, but
Right.
I love that this is his nickname now. Oh, Jesus.
I do too. I
It's
love
hilarious.
it.
I mean, thank you for
And it's said in such a fast pace. Nudie bum.
Nudie Bum. Yeah, I think that the compound idea is fabulous for a lot of
Yeah.
women. And I'm 50. So for
Yeah.
me, I thought, well, I've been single since my divorce. I was 28. I got
Ah,
married very young. I have an older
yeah.
daughter. So actually my daughter's the same age I was when I got divorced. So,
Wow.
for me, I just thought, I've been alone and dating for so long. Did I
Mhm.
want to put more effort in? I'm
Yeah.
just really glad that I didn't have to here. So I
Yeah.
guess what I'm trying to say is, do what feels right for you
Yeah.
in that time, in that moment. Don't waste your life. If you and a bunch of girlfriends want to rent a house together, go rent a house together. If you fall in love with someone, great, then make a change. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't sit around waiting.
Yep.
If you want to have a child, go do it yourself.
Mm.
Go do, insemination. Because I
Yeah.
know women that are hitting 40, 41, they're down to so many eggs. Don't wait to think that there's this perfect man out there, because there's not a
Mhm.
lot of them.
I
And instead, it would
know.
be a
They're very
situation.
hard to find.
A lot of people are just getting together because they get about 60% of what they want, or
Yeah.
50% of what they want. I wanted 80 to 90. And I thought, oh, girl, you're asking for too much. Now it seems that I found it, which I feel like I keep saying I think I won the lottery.
Yeah.
So I keep waiting. I'm like, okay, Is he going to do something really stupid? But we haven't yet, so we'll see how
So
it goes.
far, not since drop trowel.
No, Jesus, still that memory, I'll never forget it.
That is the best story. That was so funny because you literally called me in between. You called me like when I think the family was coming over and he was on his way, or you texted me or something and you were like, "It's going so good. They love him. It's great." And then you called me like at 11:30, which you never do, and I was like, "What?" You go, "You won't even believe what he just did." You were
I
fuming.
was so
You
upset.
were fuming.
I was heartbroken.
I know. That's actually that's more what it was. It wasn't that you were angry. I think you were disappointed.
Hugely disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that made it poo poo.
But this is the thing. I mean, look, if he had handled it poorly, I wouldn't have seen him again. So,
Yeah.
don't think that if a guy apologizes and kind of brushes it off, if something weird happens, that it's okay.
Yeah.
The fact that he really, truly meant his apology. He asked me what I needed to feel better. He asked if he should listen or try to fix the problem. I think that's huge. He always asks me, do you want me just to listen or do you want advice? The fact that he's that aware
Yeah.
as a man, I'm like, what? Do not do
What?
that. Check, it's just,
Oh,
and how
yeah.
it together. And you know what? If the week hadn't gone well and he hadn't had been into just, like I said, dialing things back and just finding the fun again. But I think it is really rare to find someone that you can laugh with and that you're great friends with, and then you still have great passion. Like, I haven't had that. I've always had the passion or I've had the friendship.
Yeah.
And I've never had both my
Had
whole
both.
life. So I just think, again, don't settle.
Yeah.
Do things on your own. If you want to do a compound, great. You want to have kids, go have kids.
Yeah. How's it
If the
going
right
with the
guy is
kids? I was going to ask
coming,
about that.
who knows? I didn't
Yeah.
never went, but you know.
How's it going with the kids? Is the last thing I want to talk about with him is the kid situation, because I know a lot of people go through that because he's got teenagers, right?
Yeah.
He's a little bit younger than you. So he has teenagers and younger kids. And how's that working for you, having to kind of be back in that space?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one for me because I've been an empty nester for almost a decade. So for me, it's not like it's fresh. If it had been a year or two, I'd be like, but instead, he's been really good about compartmentalizing and spending a lot of time with me and then a lot of time with his kids. But we've now crossed over a few times. We were at his lake place what was it? Not last weekend, the weekend before. And the kids asked if they could crash. And they came by and were there the whole time. And I was just like, oh no. Cause I'm in a mom mode. Like I love being a mother. I love caring for others. So I started nesting and cooking and cleaning for them and asking if they wanted something and let's watch a movie and let's make s'mores. And next thing you know, I'm no longer in a love bubble. I'm a mom. So I am trying to understand how much I want to give in that piece, like, or that part of the relationship. In other words, I think I have to dial it back a bit because what I realized is that I was giving too much to the kids and then so drained that when Nudie Bum wanted a moment or some time, I felt tired.
Yeah.
So, okay, right. My focus is still him.
Yeah.
I can be there for the kids, but I shouldn't overdo it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're 13 and 15 just turned. So, and they're in the very much midst of the divorce, right? So the kids,
boys or girls?
one girl, one boy.
One girl.
Yeah, the oldest is a boy. But I think what's hard is they're not coming from a basic situation. The ex had some mental health issues. So the full custody went to Nudie Bum.
We laugh every time.
For his cute little butt. So now he's got full custody where he went from being a single, bachelor to kids full time.
Yeah.
So, we're adjusting to it. I mean, again, time will tell. I know I'm going to spend more time with them this weekend. So wish me luck.
Mom duty.
Teens, right? And the teens now, like they're on their phone the whole time. They're hiding in their rooms. Like I actually said, I'm getting a little on the mother side. And I was like, you're going to have to keep your door open.
Yeah.
No, I don't ever keep it open. I'm like, well, it's very closed off to the world and I don't really like it. So I think let's try having the door open. And she just looked at me and I'm like, oh, I didn't win her there. I didn't win that one.
I can't believe you said that.
I support that. Unless you're getting changed, that door needs to be open because I feel like teenagers shut doors and they become isolated. I don't think they realize that that door shutting means that they've cut themselves off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you hear the buzz of the household with the door open, I don't know. I know teens want their door shut, but I'm sorry. I have a policy. The door has to be open.
Did he say anything about it?
No, he
No.
didn't really care. But I almost had to parent later that night, and he took it over, thank God, because they fought over some bedding and it was so trivial. And it was just because the son wanted to get a rise out of the daughter. And I would have gone and just yanked it off him.
Yeah.
And Nudie Bum's like, no, let's pick our battles. Like, I got this. So he's very calm.
Okay.
He's so calm.
Yeah.
So
you're not.
So I'm gonna have to figure out, like, do I want to be the fun person? Do I want to insert myself and start helping them grow and be good young adults? Because unfortunately their mom didn't do a great job. She was
that's a really hard spot.
Not much.
Yeah. And that's a really hard spot for you to be in, because when is the time right to do that and kind of insert yourself as a parent figure? And I guess it's the relationship that you're establishing with them. You can kind of tell if they're like, I want nothing to do with her dad. She's terrible. I don't know, you know, but if they're kind of warming up to you and you guys are feeling like you're bonding, I wonder where that sweet spot is where you start going, young lady, leave your door open.
Well, it happened, and we're only 3 months in, but what is the previous times I'd met them were always like dinners and lunches and way more cash, and then I was more fun and who cares. But one dinner, the daughter was showing me something on her phone, and I said, oh, let me see. And I held the phone, and the son was messaging about me because it was the son had met me, and so I was seeing what he was saying about me. Thank God they were all positive.
Oh, good.
But I was like, oh shit, look, here's your phone back. And the new iPhone, it clocks, it just opens for you.
Yeah.
Now when you touched it, I was like, Yeah, I think when you're dating, it is very hard to find that balance. And I have asked Nudie Bum, I was going to say him, you know, how far does he want me to do this? Because now that we're spending nights with them in 24, 48 hours, it's very different. I can't hold back as much as just a dinner. That's no big deal. But when you're spending 2 days with them, including nights and mornings, I'm not going to sit back and watch one of them beat the other or fight or, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's about asking your new partner, what, you know, where do you want me to insert myself? Where are you comfortable with me inserting myself? And do I have free range? And so we're still learning that right now.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like, oh my God, you're such a positive influence. Just go. Kids like me. So
that's good.
Yeah, they think I'm awesome. So that's good too.
That's what's key. Oh, I love this for you.
So ta-da.
Ta-da.
Crazy.
I love this for you. I'm so excited for you. And I'm grateful that you came on here and kind of shared your story about it, because I want people to see there's hope, especially if they've listened to any of our past episodes where I'm like, all right, we're going to need to taper back on the negativity on this episode.
You guys, but the truth is I'm very disappointed with men out there. And I think the problem is that us women are allowing them to get away with it. So it starts with us. So we have to teach them and educate them that treating us poorly or not offering to pick us up or not offering to take the bill or not being a gentleman, or even just how they treat us, how they make us feel. Do they make us feel safe? I'm not talking about if a big man's coming at you with a knife. I'm talking about, do you feel safe in their presence?
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of that. So just don't dim your light and don't settle for something shit. That's all I think.
Great advice. I hope everybody's going to keep that in the little back of their ear, and they're going to hear Michelle saying, don't dim your light. We all have something to
light and
strive
don't
for.
put up with crap, because if you do and you let them behave badly, the next girl gets that same treatment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's such a great point. Oh my God, I loved having you on here today. I love when we have these conversations and they're just open and easy and we just talk about whatever. So thank you for coming on, you being vulnerable and sharing, you know, that story with us, the whole thing, not just the drop trowel, but the whole Nudie Bum life right now. So I think we're onto something there. Nudie Bum. That sounds fun. It sounds like a little company or a tanning lotion or something, doesn't it? Tanning lotion. That's it. That's it.
It's a new song that you can't see under your clothes. Nudie Bum.
Nudie Bum. We're onto something. Nobody steal that now. We're trademarking that. We coined that one right now. So leave it alone. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Michelle. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing this little conversation that we had. I always love having her on here. And you guys can find me on any major streaming network. New episodes drop every Tuesday and solo episodes on Friday. Well, solo with my girl. So,
He's solo.
yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions, you can email me at Andrea at ms.com. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye.